Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, an intuitive leadership coach and somatic guide for high performers, high achievers who want more freedom, ease, joy, and energy. You are a visionary leader, driven, intuitive, and ready for more. More flow in your work, more presence and joy in your life and relationships, more trust in yourself and the decisions you make every day. Here, we explore the intersection of intuition, leadership, and energetic sovereignty, blending practical strategy with energetic alignment so you can create success that feels deeply fulfilling at work, at home, in your relationships, and in your own well-being. You'll hear inspiring stories, practical strategies, and high-level conversations designed to help you integrate the woo into your daily life. Because when your energy is aligned, everything flows. Ready to elevate how you lead and live? Start by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit and discover what's fueling or depleting you. Let's do this. Your yes-filled life starts now. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking with Mary Clavieres. I can't wait for this conversation. It is a really, really impactful one. Mary, among other things, is an expert in human design. So we're going to go deep into all of that. Also, please remember that enrollment is still open for the Energetic Sovereignty Self-Healing Certification, where you're going to learn a unique, one-of-a-kind combination of Reiki and breathwork and meditation so that you can create the energetic sovereignty for yourself to support yourself in the process of being a deeply compassionate and empathic leader, someone with ambitions and deep intuition, who's ready to stop taking on so much from other people and have more control of your own healing so that you can be resourced anytime, anywhere. To learn more about that, go to brendawinkle.com/self-healing. And I can't wait to see you inside. Enrollment ends July 4th and we begin July 9th. Our calls are on Wednesdays. Some of them are during the workday in US time, and some of them are after work in US time, but everything is recorded. This is a game changer. It is a one-of-a-kind modality, and I can't wait to show you more. All right, let's dive into this conversation with the incredible Mary Clavieres. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Brenda. Thank you
I
so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. I'm so excited for our conversation, and I want to kick it off with a question, which is, what is one thing that has led to your yes-filled life? Either something you did do or something you did not do.
I would say the practice of becoming more of myself.
I love that. What has that meant for you, becoming more of yourself?
It's meant a lot of self-exploration for sure.
Hmm.
It's meant a lot of trusting myself and really paying attention to what I want and what I need for myself, not in a selfish, not in a super selfish way, but in a really solid, grounded way of, hey, what is it that I need? What is it that I want? And how can I bring more of that into my life?
I love that. And you raise an interesting point, which is there can be this idea that meeting our own needs is selfish.
Mhm.
And my belief, and I've said this before on the podcast, and I'll say it again, is meeting our own needs is not selfish because it increases our capacity to serve not only the people that we serve in our careers, but also our loved ones. How do you feel about that?
Yes, so 1000%. It's impacted not only my work and all of that, but also my family. Also my family. I'm a better mom. I'm a stronger mom. I have a more loving and patient presence in my household. All of the things when I take care of myself first. And my family knows now because I love to do things like go on walks in nature by myself. I do it pretty much daily. And my family knows now I have to go for my walk. It's just something my body needs, my brain needs it. and I go and I come back so much better than when I left.
I love that. I remember, so my daughter's 23. She's out of the house. She moved out a few years ago. And I remember when she was still living at home, she would look at me and she'd kind of cock her head a little bit and she'd be like, "Do you think it's time to go to yoga?"
Yeah, yeah. That means it's time.
That means it's time. Absolutely. I love it. So, for the listener who has not yet met you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do in the world?
Sure, yeah. So, Mary Clavier, I'm a transformation coach. I really support people through change, all different kinds of change. It's been my life's work, that along with the mind body connection. So, there's a lot in there around what makes us tick, how do we make sustainable, lasting change for ourselves, and supporting people through that process. So, I know you and I talked before. I have a background in engineering, and it's kind of been interwoven into all of this mind body side of things and really bringing it all together to help people have a change that's most meaningful for them. Because really, what works for one person might not necessarily work for another. So, my whole thing is you find what works for you, you experiment, you take what resonates, you leave the rest, and you create the life you really want to live.
I love this. And change is so interesting because it's something that in many ways we want, and it's also something that I see people resist. Do you find that to be true in your work as well?
Yes, definitely. And it's hard. It can feel really hard because if we really want something to change in our lives, we have to be willing to do something differently and change something. And some of those habits and beliefs that we may have can run really deep. They
Mhm.
can run really deep and it can be really confronting to try to do something different. It's one thing to claim, okay, I want to do something differently, but then to actually follow through with that, take the action to follow through with that and to be able to see different results. It can be really challenging. It can have setbacks. It can just be difficult for people sometimes. They think that they can't do it or they don't deserve it or what will other people think? And all of those things are just ways that also hold them back and don't allow them to change and thrive in a way they really want to.
Yeah, I see that too. And I feel that like on a personal level, I feel that. I was
Yeah.
recently doing some auditing work inside my business. Not not necessarily numeric, although numbers played into it, but it was really like what's working and how is it showing up? And it was very confronting because what I had been telling myself was moving the needle was not, in fact, moving the needle at all. And
Hmm.
so I had to get clear that, oh, I'm sort of wasting energy, time, and bandwidth on this thing that's kind of fun, but it's not benefiting me. It's not benefiting my clients. It's not benefiting the business. And the feelings that that brought up, I was really glad I had tools to work through because there was a little bit of disappointment, there was shame, there was a little bit of overwhelm, like, okay, well, now what? And then fear about moving forward. So when somebody starts to do this deep transformational work, what are some things that they can put into place that can support them through those types of emotions as they get clear on, oh, here's what I have been doing and here's why it's not been working?
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important to have tools in the toolkit. So I love this question. I say it all starts with the self, of course. And when you're on this discovery of trying to see, okay, what's working, what's not working, what's coming up, what are the stories I'm telling myself, there's a bunch of different things you can do. And depending on the person, right, there's things that I usually say you can have that are a little more, let's say, physical and practical in terms of you can have a list of affirmations, you can have phrases that you tell yourself, mantras to when you catch yourself in the moment saying something negative. This is what I do a lot. If I catch myself saying something negative and I'm repeating a pattern, I tell myself, hey, Mary, this is a pattern.
Mhm.
Watch out for what's happening here. And, you're overthinking again. Don't allow yourself to overthink. Stay in the higher vibration, the higher mindset of what's going on. So there's things that you can do like that that are kind of quick in the moment, or hey, I need a refresher. Let me read my affirmations that really make me feel great, right? Then there's also exercises. I really like exercises because they shift your energy in different ways. So this could be, again, whatever works for you. It could be things like going for a walk, getting some sunshine, some fresh air. I think it's the most underutilized, underestimated thing that we have access to, really, to be
Hmm.
honest,
Hmm.
is to just go outside and get fresh air and take in some sun. Along with that, I like practices around body tapping. So not necessarily EFT tapping, although that's great too, but body tapping is a different type of, yeah, let's say body work where you actually tap at your midsection. I send people a YouTube link from someone else that shares more of like what it looks like and everything. But you really rhythmically tap, or you can tap at all different places in your body and just kind of say, oh, I feel tension. I feel tight here. Let me kind of just tap and release that. I think there's so much with the mind body connection and how we actually feel in our bodies that people don't pay attention to. So
Hmm.
things that help to release that, or going to an exercise class for sure, any type of movement in that way, and also journaling. Those are some of my really go-tos for me personally, and that work pretty well for most of my clients. But anything that's going to work to get you to shift in the moment, to just change something with your energy and your mood in the moment, if it works, that's amazing.
I love this. And I want to pull a thread on something. You mentioned that you also use these practices. And I think
Yeah.
that there's sometimes this myth that people who are beginning this work or they're midway, like they are believers in the work, but they still feel a tiny bit self-conscious because they don't know if the people who are looking like they're regulated, looking like they're managing their stress and anxiety, they may not understand that we all have practices that are
Yes.
supporting us through our life's journeys. And so let me paint a picture for you and see if you can see yourself in this picture. You are a well educated professional who's been in your field for a very long time. You're well respected. You have built community. You've built a reputation. And you also have this dream on your heart. Maybe it's to start a coaching business. Maybe it's to let people know that you want to do more photography for other people. Maybe it's that you want to start a sound healing business. But you find that you can't talk about it with people. And even though you might have some of the business set up, you have like the business actually registered with the state, you have a website, you might even have a little bit of a social media presence, but you're not talking about it to people because you're worried about what they'll think. You're worried if you'll jeopardize your reputation as the professional that you are if you admit that you have this dream on your heart. That's what the Yes to Me journey is all about. It's getting the courage to be visible, to claim and say out loud what it is that you really want. Over 4 days together in July, we'll meet for an hour each day, and I'll guide you through breath work, through ceremony, through transformation, lead you into a community of like minded seekers, intuitive and ambitious women just like you who are ready to do something different. You're the one who can feel someone shift in their energy before they've even spoken a word. You're the one who notices the unspoken tension in a room. You're the one who holds the container for everyone else's emotions. And you're not afraid to speak up. But the swirl of feelings and intuition, sometimes you forget to anchor back into yourself. And you even forget what's real or true or important to you because you've learned to be the caretaker, the high performer, and the steady hand that everyone else can rely on. And sometimes that means ignoring your own needs, like holding your bladder because you don't want to inconvenience anyone else. If that sounds like you, the Yes to Me journey is right for you. This is a chance to experience a reconnection, a release, and rising. This journey is for ambitious, intuitive women, leaders, change makers, sensitive souls who are done with self abandonment and ready to come home to themselves. Learn more by going to brendawinkle.com/yes to me. That's YESTOME, all lowercase, all one word. brendawinkle.com/yes to me. We'll be live for an hour each day, July 14 through 17. Looking like they're managing their stress and anxiety, they may not understand that we all have practices that are
Yes.
supporting us through our life's journeys. And so I love that you highlighted that because, it's like it this is a silly example, but it's one that really struck me. I remember the first time that I witnessed someone cleaning a window inside of a huge office building. And I had always marveled at how beautiful and clean the windows were. And I thought that they must know something that I didn't know about, like how to keep windows clean. And then what I realized is, oh, the thing that is happening is they're cleaning the windows. It's like an ongoing process. They're always cleaning
Yeah.
the windows. And so the same
Yeah.
thing is true for all of us. We're either supporting ourselves to manage our emotions, to manage our stress, to manage our other types of things that happen in our lives, or we're not.
Yes. And anyone that is not open with you about that, for any listeners, I would just say think long and hard before you work with them more because you need people that are, I mean, I think we learn best if we see and are modeled from other people ways that and learning and understanding what they're also going through. And it doesn't mean you have to give them every detail of your life, but it's important to feel that people are, for me at least, it's very important that I use some of these same practices. I would never tell people to use something that I haven't done. I just wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
And then it's a matter of, are people willing to open up and show that they're also doing this work? Because to your point, it never goes away. There's
Mhm.
always something to be doing. I mean, we're constantly growing and changing and evolving. Everyone is. So there's always work to be done. And life is never perfect.
Mhm.
So if they're selling you a fake dream, watch out.
Yes, yes. I've heard that called fantasy marketing. But
Oh,
yes, a fake
makes
dream.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. And so as we think about like we're challenging the status quo by tapping on the body to release the emotions, to have the resets of the walk, the nature, the sunshine. I'm curious, and this is something I'm personally working on, so I'll just name that. I'm
Great.
curious how your own emotions inform what needs to happen.
Okay. This is a great question. For me personally, it's been a lot of experimentation. So I think about it, I look at it as tools in the toolkit. There might be 50 things in there. And then in that moment, talking to myself about what do I need right now? What's
Mhm.
going to help me the most right now? And sometimes one of them comes to me and I give it a try and I say, okay, that was great. And other times I say, actually, that wasn't enough. That didn't do it. So I'll give you an example. This morning, this morning, okay, was not a great morning, and I wasn't feeling great. And I went for my walk. I said, okay, I need to get out. I went for my walk. I went for even a little bit longer walk than usual, and I got home and I said, you know what? I still don't feel great. I feel a little bit of like a lingering headache. I was just achy and out of sorts. And I said, okay, then you know what? I'm going to do something else.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go sit down and do work because that's just forcing myself and that's going to do nothing. Nothing good will come of that except exhaustion and aggravation. So I said, all right, what else can I do? What do I feel like doing in this moment? And I'll do like a quick body scan and just kind of feel into each part of my body and then try to feel in with that to see what do I really need right now. So then I did body tapping and that really helped me. It kind of sometimes you need to pair things together to
Mhm.
see what what works or not in that moment because it's always going to be different. It's I think that's part of the hard thing about life. A lot of times we expect there to be a formula or if I just do this every day, right? Like creating habits and everything, right? Like if I just do this every day and I keep this rigid schedule, then great, it's going to work. But actually, we change from day to day. Our energy changes, our hormones change, all these things change. And we need to be able to understand and recognize that for ourselves and give ourselves grace and space to adapt in that moment. So I always say, if one thing didn't work, that's okay. Do something else. Don't force yourself to go do your work if you're still not feeling great. It's not going to help the situation.
Mm, I so appreciate this. One of the things that I witness in a lot of my own clients, my friends, my peers, and I know for certain that I am guilty of is high achieving your healing, where
Yeah.
we get this big routine of I'm going to meditate and then I'm going to do my breath work and then I'm
Yep.
going to do the journaling and then we can end up with this 2 to 3 hour block of time that we feel beholden to and then next thing you know, we're stressed by the thing that's supposed to reduce the stress. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that you highlight just being curious. What is it I need today?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. And I am very much a quality over quantity person.
Hmm.
So it's better to spend 10 minutes really well on one activity or two activities than to spend 2 hours and be worrying about your next thing on your list the whole time.
Hmm.
You're not going to be refueled from that.
That's right. And it's not even mindfulness. If you're like
Right.
high achieving
Right.
the
Right.
the awakening, then
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So one of the things that I noticed about you today that I so appreciated is when we first logged on our call, you were telling me that you wanted just a moment to set up a couple of things. And I was so appreciative of that. And here's why. When I meet somebody who's able to say, I need this, I trust that they have themselves. Meaning, I know that I can have me, you have you, and then we're going to create this magic together because you're self advocating.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, is that something that has always come to you, or is that something you've cultivated?
I've worked long and hard for that.
Me too.
It's something that so thank you first for saying that and for that observation. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful reflection to kind of even see the point that I've come to. Um, and I would say that, yeah, it's definitely something I've worked towards. I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Hmm.
So it's over the years, the more that I learn about myself, the stronger that I become and the more grounded I become in myself and my knowing and what I'm here to do and how I'm here to support people, the easier it gets for me to communicate some of those things. And it is really important to communicate them because otherwise things will just be frazzled and you can feel lost. And it's not to say it's definitely not perfect all the time. I tell my girls this. So I have two daughters and I tell them all the time because I'm not positive and happy with them all the time. I flip out sometimes. I get angry or frustrated in something. And I've learned to practice, okay, walk away, take some breaths. You're the adult here. You know, your job is to hold the space for the child because they don't know how to regulate yet and all of those things. So I kind of take my break, I go do my thing, and I come back and I explain in a better way. And it's just been a practice. And so, yeah, it's been a practice in all parts of my life and that's just one of them.
What a cool modeling that you're doing for your girls. I've heard that the repair process of coming back to something is so much more impactful than not having the repair. Like some of us think
Yes.
if I'm doing it right, I'll never make a mistake. But the truth is, our children learn so much more from what Deb Rubin calls the rupture and the repair.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crucial. And I see one of my daughters really, they both take to it in different ways, but my younger one definitely needs that. You can see it in her face and in her body and everything when we go through that process. It heals a lot in her. and me
Yeah.
at the same time.
Wait, for sure. And then it also is modeling, here's how this happens in other relationships because you're giving them a roadmap, so to speak, of what happens when this happens in a friendship or in a working relationship or any other kind of relationship. It's so powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So the people pleasing part, oh my gosh, I resonate with that. I have always been highly intuitive, empathic, psychic, operate as a medium as well. And
So cool.
when it is cool, but as a kid, it freaked people out because I didn't have language to describe why or how I had this knowledge. And so I didn't have the nuance to know A, spiritual boundaries, like don't tap into people without permission.
Yeah.
And B, I didn't know how to shut it off so that I could not necessarily have somebody or something talking to me while I was walking down the hall. And I could sense and feel that the adults around me were scared. And so what I ended up doing was turning all of these spiritual gifts into people pleasing because I knew that didn't scare them. They seemed to like that. And so I became such a pattern people pleaser that I pleased, for the first 35 years of my life like it was my job.
Yeah. Yeah. Same Z's.
Yeah. And as you unlearned people pleasing, I'm curious. Obviously, it takes setting boundaries. It takes saying, I want this, I don't want this. And, for me, there was this big fear that I would be told no, which that seems simple, but in my system, that was massive because if you told me no on something that I finally had the courage to ask you for, it was devastating because it took so much work to get to that point I could ask you for something. And so the fear of being told no was like it loomed large. And I remember one time I'd been a teacher for 20 some years and I had suffered for most of those years not being able to go to the bathroom. So I would, start work at 8 a.m. I would end at 12 p.m. and there's no break to even go to the bathroom in that time. I'd have a 45-minute break to eat, go to the bathroom, and then I would do it again until, 3:45. One year, I just had enough. And I said, I am going to use the bathroom in the middle of the morning. And I need this class to go to recess 1 minute early. And I need this class to come to recess 1 minute late. And I was ready for them to tell me no. And I was making this a really big story in my mind.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. People were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And this story that I told myself for decades went up in smoke. Like, oh, I was holding myself to this
Mhm.
suffering state and I wouldn't have to. And it was literally groundbreaking for me. And I'm just wondering, would you be willing to talk a little bit about your journey to end the people pleasing, what that might have been like, how you learned?
Yeah, for sure. I'm reflecting now. I'd say the biggest piece for me, I completely get the rejection piece, the no, because it's a rejection. Not only is it rejection, it's personalized rejection, right? It feels very much like there's something wrong with you in a
Hmm.
way, right?
Hmm.
I think the biggest piece for me was, yeah, similar in that I had to learn to use my voice.
Hmm.
I had to learn to use my voice and feel confident in using it. And that can feel tricky. And I had to practice using it and taking up space in a different way and just allowing myself to be heard. So that's something I would say just in general for me with it was an ongoing process. Um, Even for things like this will seem like a random silly example, but I started going to a yoga class and this was a few years ago and I was new to the class. So I live in France now. I'm from the US, but I live in France. So I was going to this yoga class in French, right? And I didn't I didn't know the songs and like the mantras that they would do in the beginning and stuff. And so I would just kind of, fake my way through them or just once I learned them, just say them very softly because I didn't feel strong enough in myself to say them or what if I say them wrong. And my yoga teacher one day at the end of class, she said, you know, Mary, this is a space where you can practice and you can be louder and you can use your voice. And I was like, oh, this is so strange. Like I hadn't thought about it that way, but like, because it's yoga class, but I was like, actually, yeah, what better place to practice? Now, I had layers of things there, right? Because it's in French. Maybe I didn't feel so confident, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't tied to a rejection in that moment per se,
Hmm.
more
Hmm.
my own personal embarrassment, I guess. Um, but it just made me realize in a different way of, yes, take up space. Take up your space.
Hmm.
And not to be, I don't mean that in a, you know, looming over everyone else,
Right.
ego front and center kind of thing, but take up your space. And it was such a beautiful, gentle reminder to me. And this had been after I'd been doing the work for a while, right? So it wasn't, the beginning of my journey, but it was a really, it stays with me as something that was really powerful in that, oh yeah, actually I can take up space in all these different kinds of ways, right? Not just
Hmm.
one way.
Yeah. And the other thing you're pointing to here is releasing perfectionism.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That's been part of my journey as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another big one. It really keeps us in our tracks.
Oh, it does. It's
Keeps us
very
stuck.
limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up in a family of musicians as a musician, and I was a music educator. And in music, there's just no place for bead work. Like it has to be perfect
Yeah.
because if it's not perfect, it's just atrocious. And so that perfectionism was really my guiding light for decades.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that it had carried over into other parts of my life. I thought I was compartmentalizing it to the music. And then when I really started doing inner work, I realized, oh no,
Yeah.
this is not compartmentalized. This is something that I'm holding myself to. It's something I'm holding my relationships to. And it was really destructive. And when I first began to let go of it, I felt kind of like, I'm going to use the word sloppy. Like it felt like I wasn't
Yeah.
doing the quality of work. And what I've realized over time is I'm actually doing better work. Are there mistakes and errors in my copy? Yes, 100%. But
Yeah.
the message is so much more resonant because I'm not getting stuck in the perfectionism. How has
Yeah.
that come out for you?
Same. I mean, progress over perfection is an underlying principle for me. I would say so because we talked before, I'm into human design. I love it as a tool. And my profile is a 3-5, which if anyone's not familiar with the 3-5 or with human design, the 3-5 is all about experimentation. It's all about trial and error and learning by doing and getting your hands into things and being willing to disrupt and see different ways of doing it, all of the things. And part of my journey, once I learned about that years ago, I had to really practice to allow myself to experiment in different ways and really let go of because I realized even for things like running my business, worrying about a social media post and oh, this doesn't look quite right and this has a spelling mistake and going over things 10 times. It's like, why am I doing that? But you don't necessarily notice it in the moment because it's a way that's helping you to stay where you are.
Yeah.
And instead it's okay, what's the bigger thing that's going to move the needle here? And how am I putting weight on my time and my activities? And so it's been it that was also a process for me in a lot of ways of allowing myself to experiment, allowing myself to, let's say, make mistakes even because actually I learn by doing and in those doing, those lessons then teach me for the next thing and allowing myself to really honor that within myself was a big deal. It still
Mhm.
is. I still practice it for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And
Yeah.
yes to human design. So I don't feel like I'm trained in human design, but I'm definitely an enthusiast
Mm.
and love it. So I'm a manifesting generator and I believe I'm a 2/4 in my human design
Okay.
for myself. My business is also a manifesting generator, but it's a 3/5.
Mm. Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
What is your human design type?
I'm a projector.
Okay.
So I'm a 3/5 projector. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I tend to attract a lot of projectors onto the
Mm,
podcast, not 100%,
cool.
but there is a lot of projectors.
Yeah. Well, it
There's,
makes sense in a way, I think, just from the perspective of guiding, right?
Mhm,
Projectors are here to guide in some way. So there's
mhm.
probably something that they're sharing that's guiding your listeners.
Yes, absolutely. I love
Yeah.
that. So, how can people connect with you and tell us a little bit about the ways that they might be able to work with you?
Sure. Well, I do human design reading, so I've been studying it. I found it for myself and then loved it so much that I started studying it over the years. So I do readings and I also do one-on-one coaching containers. I'm at maryclavier.com. I can share all of my links and all of that, but I'd say really the work that I do best and that I love the most is to support people through some type of change in their life, whether they're looking for a different career or having even in some cases, a big move, international move, and anything that's really they feel like they're in a transition that they need support with. So, and I will use human design as a tool sometimes to look at that with them and to see, okay, what kind of tweaks can you make to potentially bring yourself into more alignment? Because it's not to label and say you have to be this or you have to do that. It's really about what tools do you have to support you to discover more of who you are. So those are the main ways. And I'm not sure when this is airing, but I also do workshops from time to time. So I'm doing a decision making workshop coming up, but all of that is on my website updated, for whenever I'm hosting one.
Amazing. And it's interesting to me that you just mentioned helping people become more of who they are, and that was the beginning of your journey. That was how you found your yes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Full circle.
Full
Brenda, I love
circle.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I really believe I'm here to do in some way and to support people that are ready, willing, and able to do something different with their lives. And I'm here to support that. So
I love that. And with our current political climate, I can imagine that there's a lot of people who are wondering if it's time for a change of location, a change of career, a change of country. And so, invitation to go check out Mary's stuff. She's got a
thank
lot
you.
of things. And you and I had talked a little bit before about what it was like to be an American in France. And I know my listeners would love to hear a little bit about that perspective. What has that been like for you?
Sure. Yeah, it's been so interesting. So we're here about 3 years now. My husband is French, but he lived in the US for a long time. So um, even for him, it was an adjustment to come back. It's been an adjustment in so many ways, and there's so many layers to it. There's of course the language, which is very clear. That's
Right.
different. And we moved from a city in New Jersey to really the French countryside. And so there was an adjustment of the conveniences or lack of conveniences in this new place that we live. Um, and so it's been an adjustment in so many ways, but now I can say 3 years in, and in the beginning was extremely hard. Um, Now it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful, and I feel really settled and grounded and appreciative of where we are. And it's funny the things that you see or the things that my girls do that I say, oh wow, yeah, we're really here. This is so interesting, you know.
Mm.
Um, and the pastries are just phenomenal.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, indeed. And you speak to something really important, which is even the changes that we want can be very challenging at the beginning.
Oh
And
yeah,
it doesn't mean it's a mistake.
correct. That's absolutely correct because I actually pictured us sometimes and I thought, okay, maybe one day we'll go to France. It seemed pretty realistic. We have some relatives here and everything. And then you actually do it and you realize, oh, this isn't just for a vacation.
Mhm.
You're settled in, you're waiting for your furniture to come off the boat, and you're setting yourself up with school. And I had to set myself up with all my business stuff in a different way. And it's with each step, with each milestone, it gets a little bit easier. I had to get my French driving license, like start from scratch and do the whole
Mhm.
thing
Mhm.
in French. And I just really tried to appreciate each of the milestones when they happened and say, hey, I did that. And I'm proud of myself for that. Because if you don't, you can just feel, you can just see all the places that you don't feel you're there yet,
Mhm.
right? Instead of seeing how far you've actually come. And I
Yes.
just think it's so much better to see how far you've come.
Right. And celebrating each
Yeah.
accomplishment, whether it's studying for the driving license or
Yeah.
achieving the driving license. I agree with that completely. And while I have not lived abroad, I have done a lot of kinds of changes. I traveled full time for 5 months. I've lived in 7 or 8 different states,
Yeah.
and each change is kind of hard in ways and also really worth it. And I'm wondering, for you personally, and maybe for your clients, how do you discern the difference between I'm getting used to this, I'm acclimating, I'm learning new things, and these are growing pains from, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. How do you differentiate that?
So I would say it's a great question. I think there's a couple of things. One, it's important, like we said, to find the celebrations and to find the positive things and the positive milestones. And two, it's really important to have a really strong mind-body connection with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you feel aligned in your mind and body, you will inherently know if something is right for you or not, or you will know as time goes by and you'll keep feeling it. I personally believe our bodies tell us way more than we realize. You
That's
know
right.
this.
Yes.
And we have to pay attention to that. We have to. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so I would say, yeah, if someone's really deciding or trying to figure out if they've made a mistake, there's a level of when you do this work, it will be easier to see and it'll be easier for you to know, is this really a mistake or are you really just in an adjustment period? And it's tricky because something like a big move like this, one person told me before I moved, they said, you really need all 4 seasons. You need a full year in the new place to really feel like you've landed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered that and I took it to heart, and it was interesting as we watched the 4 seasons. And actually France runs very seasonally even with the food and everything, so it's very interesting in a lot of ways. um but after that marker I said, okay, we're here 1 year, and that I took as a big celebration. But then there's still other milestones along the way even after that, but giving yourself time and trying to not have expectations of how something should be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm moving to this place. It should only take me 6 months or it should only take me a year, because actually it's kind of like, I'd say it's similar in a way to grief.
Mm-hmm.
You like lost something or you moved on from something and then here is something else. And there's these ups and downs and peaks and valleys along the way. So just honoring them. But I'd say it's really important to pay attention and to know for yourself if it really feels like it's working or not. And you can work with someone like a coach or really even a therapist for something like that when it's a little bit deeper. If things really seem to not be working correctly in some way, it could
Mm-hmm.
it could be something deeper. So I'm always open to telling people that too. There's different options.
I love this. And I can see how what you just said could be applied to moving into a new neighborhood
Hmm.
or taking a new job
Hmm.
or joining a new club.
Yep.
You can apply it to everything where there's always this body awareness, this body wisdom that we all have access to if we're willing to listen and not try to treat the body thing. So, like, let's say you get a surprise headache out of the blue. If you are popping ibuprofen to get rid of the headache, instead of asking yourself the deeper question around why am I feeling this way? And not to say that we shouldn't be treating medical things. We absolutely should be treating medical things. And
Yep.
also,
Yep.
we have these little nudges.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, it's so good.
It's really important, and it's not so common. I think it's becoming more common. It's becoming more people are understanding or moving that way to understanding that yes, this is something and the mind body connection is something, but the more we speak about it is hopefully helpful for other people.
Absolutely. On that note, we're going to close for today. Mary, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
Just thank you for having me, and hopefully this helped your listeners in some way. If anyone takes one nugget, I'm really happy and grateful. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
I absolutely loved this conversation with Mary, and I hope that you got a lot out of it. You know, one of the things that Mary is so gifted at is guiding us through changes and transitions and really giving grace to get used to things and giving grace to learning to know ourselves better. And I just love that. I'm going to put all of her links in the show notes. Be sure you go check them out. One other thing that Mary said that really stood out to me was how she highlighted that you want to be working with people who are doing their own work. And to that end, just a reminder that the self healing certification for energetic sovereignty is still enrolling now through July 4th, 2025. And the Yes to Me journey is back. This is one of the favorite events I host all year. People come back again and again and again. And this exact event is what catapulted me to resign from my own teaching job and go full time in my business because just the collective energy, the energetic field that's built during this time together. And this year, I'm really creating it so that it is a nourishing journey for you. It's not about learning more, it's about experiencing more. So you're going to come get to enjoy ceremonies and rituals and breath work. And of course, you're going to leave with my 3-part Your Yes Filled Life framework so that you can put these things into your own life. Go to brendawinkle.com/yes to me. And that's YESTOME, all lowercase, all one word. And this year, I am up leveling this experience for you big time. So this is no longer a free event. Enrollment is $179 US. I promise you it's going to be worth every penny. You will leave with a 3-part Your Yes Filled Life framework. You will have enjoyed ceremony and rituals and community, and it is just literally life changing. So learn more and register at brendawinkle.com/yes to me. That's YESTOME, all lowercase, all one word. Go to brendawinkle.com/yes to me. Thank you so much for listening to Your Yes Filled Life. If you enjoyed this episode, would you please consider sharing it with a friend? Thanks so much for being here. Bye for now. Until next time.